Hi, today we're going to start working with an Excel spreadsheet that will help you organize and study the top 100 most commonly prescribed drugs. This will be your tool for tracking key information like drug names and classifications, brands, generics, indications, and side effects. I'm going to walk you through how to fill it in step by step using a drug reference that is a collection of all the package inserts. I mentioned that in the introduction. So let me show you what a package insert is. This is a medication, and maybe you've gotten a medication in the past where you get one of these on top. We usually in the pharmacy, we take them off. We don't give them to the patient because we don't really need to see what's in here. It's not really that helpful, but let me show you what's in here. Oh, this one happens to be for Januvia. I have a whole bunch of them here. Like, it's kind of hard. We're not in person, so I can't hand them out to you. So I'm going to open it and show you what's inside. This is part of a federal regulation. This part you're supposed to hand to the patient if you work in a pharmacy and when you're dispensing it. And we don't, because we give them our own printout of the same thing. Actually, we have QR codes now. Okay, so they generally have a table of contents here at the very beginning. And each of those will go to different chapters. This is where, there's a lot of information, and you can get all the information you need for your spreadsheet. So let's take a look at the spreadsheet, and I'm going to show you where we can get that information online instead. All those package inserts are all in one place. You can hit Control F and find exactly what you need rather quickly. Okay, so let's get into that and look at the spreadsheet. Here we go. We're in Excel now. And I'm going to go across the top, okay? So rank, that's the column that tells you what's the most popular. But for you, you need to know 1 through 20 is week 1, and 21 through 40 is week 2, okay? So I put some colors in. You can color them if you want. You can change things around like that, but what you should not change around is the titles of the headings here, okay, and of course any of the drug names. So these are the 100 drugs that are very, very popular. I see them in my pharmacy practice every day, all of them, and most of them are prescriptions. There's very few of them in here, maybe 2 or 3 that are over-the-counter items, meaning you don't even need a prescription, but doctors still prescribe them so that they can be on their med list. Anyhow, let's go across the top. So first column is rank, and I'm going to use this column to leave notes for you, actually comments specifically, okay? So I can leave a comment here. I right-click, leave a comment for you. If I leave a comment, okay, something helpful, what you're going to see is this little purple type of triangle in the corner. All right, and those are for you, and you could leave notes, and you probably should. So say you want to leave some extra notes in here. All right, you could choose note instead. All right, I'm going to hit Control Z to undo, and it goes away. All right, so that's the brand name is the next column, and that is for the title of the drug, the manufacturer's name that they gave it, trade name, manufacturer's name, brand name, and they came out with a patent. They did all the work and came out with it first, and they always charge a lot more money to try to recoup their costs to get it to market. The generic name is the ingredient. Everything has a generic name. It also has a chemical name. You don't need to know that. That's usually a much longer version of the generic name. So that's the next column. So all the generic names have been provided to you. I will give you all the brand names in the videos. they're a little harder to find in the drug reference, actually, because so many of them have become generic and the brands are no longer available. So next column is indication, and that's the same thing as the common use, what it's used for. You can put in here, you need to put at least one thing, and you can put this in however you want, however it's going to help you remember. If you want to put blood pressure instead of hypertension, if you want to put congestive heart failure and spell it out instead of CHF, it's totally up to you. I would just recommend you do something consistent. So if you have another drug for hypertension, put hypertension in. That way later you can sort these columns, and I'm going to mention that. I'll talk about that in a minute. The next column is suffix, and that's the ending of the drug name. So lisinopril ends in pril. And if you see two or more drugs ending in the same syllable, couple syllables or spelling, you're going to want to put a suffix in here. It's going to really be helpful to you to recognize and determine if what a medication's used for, because eventually you'll start using these words so often that you'll hear lisinopril, enalapril, you'll know, oh, pril, that's an ACE inhibitor, or that's for hypertension. Okay, so like down here we have metoprolol, it ends in all, OLOL. We have atenolol and propranolol, and they're all beta blockers, and they're all in the top 100. So I have an asterisk at the end of the word suffix because this column is not going to be scored. Sometimes you might leave it blank. For example, omeprazole is for stomach acid. It's a proton pump inhibitor. Antifungals, some of them also end in azole. So it's not a good one to memorize, as that's not going to tell you if it's antifungal or antiacid. Okay, it's not an antacid, but it's antiacid because it lowers the stomach acid. But yeah, so if you leave it blank, that's fine. This column is for you. It's going to help you in your healthcare career. All right, it's very, very useful. So that's what that asterisk means. I also have that over here, way over on the right in notes. Okay, and that's because you can put important things in there, things that are going to be really useful to you, things that you hear in the videos, or, you know, that's where that's going to go in this column. And if you leave any of it blank, that's okay. This column is for you. All right. So let's go back to the next one in the line. We have F, dosage forms. That would be whether it's a tablet or a liquid. All right, down here I put 2 tablets and suspensions. Now there could be others, right? There could be, some of them come in creams. Some medications come in pills and creams too, like nystatin comes in liquid, pills, and cream. You don't have to put them all. You got to put at least one. As you discover them, you could go back and add them in. This tool is going to come in very handy for you when you're studying for your board exams. Okay, so keep that in mind. You might want to be real thorough with it. All right, so next one is dose example. Now, as you can see, I've filled some things in for you. A dose example, the first one I put up here is 10 milligrams POQAM. You don't know the SIG codes yet. The SIG codes, we're going to be covering that in the next couple in the first couple chapters. And I thought it would be a good idea, if it were me, this is what I would do. You're not going to be graded on this, but if you want to add, go down to the bottom, add another sheet. And things you need to memorize, put in here. So PO means by mouth. Q means every. So QD, actually there should be a period in there, is every day. It's falling out of favor because QID means 4 times a day, and they can be easily confused. So a hospital that I used to moonlight at, we weren't allowed to do QD. We would do Q day. Okay, so you can start collecting everything you learn in here. All right, QAM every morning. All right, so start collecting them. I think it's a good thing. You could rename this here. You know, SIG codes. And back to this. You can change the colors if you want. You can get rid of the colors if you don't like it. Make things bold. Decorate it any way you want. Let's move on. I show you in this one, if you really want to write it out and not use a SIG code, as an example on the levothyroxine here, G2, GN2, I put it in as 25 micrograms. Now, levothyroxine comes in a lot of strengths. You just have to put in one example. So you can spell it all out, but a SIG code is going to be a lot more helpful and easier to write and quicker. I'm going to just read this one down to, let's see, G12 albuterol, 2 puffs Q4H. That's every, because we said Q is every 4 hours. H4H is 4 hours. PRN is as needed. SOB means shortness of breath. Okay, so that's 2 puffs every 4 hours as needed for shortness of breath. Go down to G17. I've got 2 stat, 1 POQD times 5D. 2 stat means 2 now, and then 1 by mouth every day times 5 days for 5 days. So that's how that one would translate. Okay, so next is system. And this is a very broad term. Zestrol being for hypertension is in the cardiovascular system. So I show you how I put that in there. Now, if you want to write heart, that's fine. Classification. This one in the drug reference will tell you it's an ACE inhibitor. And the mechanism of action, I don't want you to write more than one sentence. It really is small of a sentence as you can, something that's sort of understandable. This one's pretty easy. It's ACE inhibitor. It inhibits ACE, which is an angiotensin converting enzyme is what that stands for. That's in the drug reference. I'll show you where you can find that. Next column is adverse reactions. That would be side effects, but we're going to use clinical terms. Adverse reactions. In the literature, the side effects are called adverse reactions. You need to put at least one. You can put more if you want. Boxed warning. Not every drug is going to have it. So many times these will be empty, and that's fine. But if there's a boxed warning, you need to put it in there. These are incredibly important things. Okay. Fetal toxicity with lisinopril. So if someone is pregnant, they need to go off of this medication immediately. It's toxic to babies in utero, babies in the womb. All right. And next one is schedule. Some of these will be blank. Now I put one in here to show you an example, and it's hydrocodone / APAP, number 9 over here. Okay. That is C2. That is a class Roman numeral 2. If you want to write C2, that's fine. Because, like I said, this is an assignment, but this is also for you. This is going to be a wonderful study tool for you when you're studying for your board exams. The last column has an asterisk. It is not graded. It is for notes. And these are notes things that are going to probably appear on a test somewhere. Maybe my test, maybe the board test, but something that's really important. It might even be a box warning if you want to, put something over there, but something you really want to remember about this drug is what you're going to use this column for. If it's empty, I'm not going to worry about it. But you shouldn't leave it empty. You should find something important about every drug, okay? The test that we're going to be having in this course is going to be indications, which is column D, okay, and the drug name. We'll use generic names mostly, but you should still remember the brand name because that's real life. So these three categories, columns B, C, D, is what your big test at the end is going to be on. Okay, if you make some flashcards, that's what you need to make it on. Now, let's go look at the drug reference. All right, so we'll head over to Blackboard. And I have the drug reference up ready to go. So let's look at that. Okay. Let's put one of the drugs in. Let's go with lisinopril because you just saw me go over that one. Now, there's lots of lisinoprils. There's a combination, and we're going to go with the simplest one. That usually is the one that will work for us. All right. And these all are in combination. I don't want to look at the ones in combination because that might tell me side effects of hydrochlorothiazide. All right, here's one, but I don't like that one. I'm going to show you why. If you look at the label, this one is, sorry, is a bulk shipment repackaging only product. So it might not have all the information. We want to go with one that is made, it comes from the manufacturer. Okay, so I found one. I'm going to just give you a quick orientation on the label, although this isn't where you're going to get all your information from, obviously, because this is packaged for a pharmacy to use. We've got the drug name. We'll talk about later what USP means. It's a quality control. They're not allowed to put that on there unless they're high quality, and we'll talk about it later in one of the chapters. The strength, RX only, is a legend. It has to be on there by the manufacturer. How many are in there? This is unusual. I don't normally see the directions. The NDC is like a UPC for pharmacists and pharmacy workers. We get the manufacturer's logo. Storage and expiration date. We don't see it on this because it's just a template, but the manufacturer, those things will always be on here. Okay. So the storage is important. That's always going to be on here. All right, let's open this one up. This is a good one. First thing to do when you open up your drug reference is you got to go to view all sections. Click on that, and now you have the package insert. You have the table of contents. You have all of it. All 5,000 pages, okay? That's a lot. Well, at least you're not holding a piece of paper that you need a magnifying glass for, right? All right, back to the top. So, if there's a boxed warning, it's in a box. Easy, very easy to spot. In fact, it comes up on the left if there's a boxed warning. It is the strongest warning that the FDA requires and signifies that medical studies indicate that the drug carries a significant risk of serious or even life-threatening adverse effects. All right, so that's it here. Fetal toxicity. Good thing to read. Now, the highlights are in the first section. You can get a lot of stuff right in here. The indications are right here. A typical dosage is right here. Okay, so we've got 10 milligrams once a day. We know it's an oral medication because of this being a tablet. All right, so adverse reactions. All right, so this is where Control F is going to be your friend. You can hit Control F and you can find, I don't know how I got to full screen here. Well, okay. Might look different on your computer, but let's look for adverse effects. It's going to appear a few times. Oh, not adverse effects, adverse reactions. That's a whole section, okay? So we have it here in the summary. We got it in chapter 6. And here we go. So your adverse reactions are in this chapter here. The highlights is really helpful. There's usually a table that will tell you how common these side effects are. It's really good to know where to find that information. All right. Now, mechanism of action. Let's do that. It's going to be under pharmacokinetics. Pharmacokinetics. Let's see. Well, here we go. Actually, right above it, mechanism of action. I guess you can just search. That's great. Just search mechanism of action. All right, here's what it does. It inhibits angiotensin converting enzyme. That's exactly what we put in. Now, the rest of it you don't need to know for the purposes of this course. Okay, if you're interested, read on, but you don't need to. All right, so I hope this really helps you in your pursuits of filling in this big grid. And you can look for my comments. Again, I'm going to be putting comments in this column here. You can even write back to me if you want to. Be sure your title has your name in it. Be sure you share it with me. Grant some access, okay, so I can leave those comments. It's really important. And good luck. I think, oh, one more thing. You may want to add another tab down at the bottom, okay? And what you can do for studying is you can, pull out all of this, hit Control C to copy and bring it over, Control V to paste it. And then you can, like, without messing up your original, you can sort the columns. So let's say you want to put all the suffixes together. Okay, so you right click, sort A to Z. If you're using the desktop version, that's how you do it. If you're using the browser version, you might have to look up in here. It's a little bit simpler. But yeah, so that's really helpful. You could put all your heart meds together and sort that way, or you could just, get some index cards and start making flashcards one at a time. It's a lot more difficult. I think it goes into your brain better if you when you start grouping them, but they're not grouped for the assignments. Okay, so good luck, and we will see you soon.